Well, here's the thing that's a little bit odd about this hand. I mean, this is really, when you get up to this level, this is kind of like an MDF spot as opposed to a pot odd spot. I mean, that's how I would look at it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at pot odds,
510, the effective stack, I want to say he was around 3,000.
okay,
And I had him covered.
okay,
And so under the gun limps, he's under the gun +2. He raises a 40. Middle position, Cole calls a 40. I'm on the button with ace jack of clubs.
okay,
So I go ahead and I 3-bet to 150,
okay.
which I probably could have made it a little more, but some reason these guys, I mean, I figured that would have been enough just to get heads up. So the under the gun limper, he folds,
Mm-hmm.
and now I guess the villain, he 4-bets me to 270,
Okay.
which is really small
That is
compared
really
to the
small.
4-bets that we've had
That's almost like a
previously.
min raise, right? He made it less
Basically,
than
yeah.
double what you did. So limp +2 to 40, MP1 calls, you squeeze the button to 150. I mean, it's just under 4x. The
Yeah.
limper folds. This guy makes like a min 4-bet here to 270. I'm assuming the guy in between folds.
Yeah, he folds,
Uh huh.
and I just go ahead and call.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna call here with
Yeah.
ace jack of clubs. Basically for for a min 4-bet.
Basically,
So
yeah, it's
I mean, I
basically
like your
min.
3-bet here with some dead money out there. Drive the limper out too. So look like the pot might be like 560 and change or something like that.
Yep, that's about right.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. And the flop comes out Jack 7-3 rainbow, and he down bets to 150 now.
Do you remember if you had a backdoor flush draw or?
Yes, there was one club, 3 clubs.
Okay. So I'm going to put this up as Jack of Diamonds, 3 of Clubs, 7 of Hearts, and he bets 150.
150. Yep.
Okay, so he is a 4-bet pot, and one of the things that, from a theoretical perspective, in a 4-bet pot, unless you get really one of the absolute worst boards, usually 4-bet pots are sort of allowed to be c-bet almost every single board. It changes when you're a little bit deeper, but this is not the board that you would check. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me here that, he bets 150, which is what, maybe 25% of the pot, a little bit
Yeah.
more. You don't really need to worry about protection. I don't think as much in position where, plus you have an ace in your hand too. So the kicker matters when you're thinking about protection. Like, if you had defended out of position with like Jack 10 of Hearts and somebody down betted you in this spot, you might consider putting in a protection raise. But I mean, I think this is just a clear call all day.
hmm And that's what I did. I just went ahead and called.
Okay.
And the turn comes another offsuit 5 completing the rainbow,
Okay. So 5 of
and
spades.
he bets 330 now
Okay.
into I think about around 900.
I have it, yeah, just on, I mean, I have it at 860 or maybe it's
Yeah, just
870.
under 900. Yep.
So, I mean, it's not, I mean, again, I mean, maybe 40% of the pot size, right? So, I mean, obviously I would call again.
Yeah, so I did. I called.
Uh-huh.
I was I was like, it seemed at the time that um, a pretty good value size, because I'd seen him do something similar in a previous hand, not against me, but I went ahead and just called
So,
because I knew he was capable.
by the way, the pot is maybe between 1500 and 1550. You guys have put in 480 post and then 270. So, you've put in, looks like 750. So you've got maybe 2250 left. So about maybe a pot and a half size bet left, something like that.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And on the river, he thinks about it for about 10 seconds and just
Wait a minute.
ships it.
What's the river?
River is a 3, so it pairs the board.
So the river is a 3. I'll put it up as 3 of diamonds. So the final board is Jack of Diamonds, 3 of Clubs, 7 of Hearts, 5 of Spades, 3 of Diamonds, and he ships it.
He ships it on the 3. Yeah.
So
I got for 22.65 is what he shipped it for.
so do you know anything about this particular guy? Like, is he a pro? Is he a
I know he's capable, but he's also capable of making plays. He tried to slow play a set, like I'm at 3 orbits, maybe 4 orbits before this against me, and I ended up rivering the nut straight Broadway against him,
mm-hmm.
where I was the aggressor in like a 2K pot. But I know he was capable of making bluffs. So I had never played with him before. But I've only been playing at the Aria for about a month right now. So he seemed capable. So I'm pretty sure he's probably a reg.
Well, here's the thing that's a little bit odd about this hand. I mean, this is really, when you get up to this level, this is kind of like an MDF spot as opposed to a pot odd spot. I mean, that's how I would look at it. Like, I mean, if you look at pot odds, you know, the pot's going to be like 37, 22 ish to call. You know, you're not quite getting 2-1. From an MDF perspective, the guy's betting 1.5 pots basically. So if he bets pot, right, you know, you have to defend with 50% of hands in order for him to not have a profitable bluff. If he bets 2x the pot, then you need to defend with 33. I think here you need to defend with about 40% of the hands that you get here with, and then you can sort of look at blocking properties too. The thing here is that his 4-bet sizing is so small, I don't know if there's any hands that you 3-bet fold, because it's just kind of, I mean, the pot would, I mean, I'm going back to flop, the pot would be like 450, like 150 to call. I mean, if you are structuring your 3-bet squeezes correctly, I just can't imagine ever really, you know, calling. Excuse me, I can't imagine ever folding, which is interesting, because if that's the case, where you have more hands than if he had said like 4x 4-bet from out of position or 3x 4-bet, then ace jack is probably going to become more of a call if you follow that. Like, if he had made a larger 4-bet sizing and now you're folding off some hands that you 3-bet, then in terms of just total volume of hands, you have less going to the flop. But here you have more. And if you're always going to basically hold on with the jack, at least all the way to the end, I would think that ace jack is really going to be one of the best hands. I mean, it's going to be the best jack that you can have, not even necessarily just for the kicker, but just the fact that you block aces. I mean, king jack blocks kings, but I mean, why not just rather have ace jack? I don't know if you're squeezing any like pairs, like, I don't know, sevens or some shit like that, or like fives, but which maybe, you know, sevens would flop a set, maybe fives, if you would squeeze it, you'd piece off. But to be perfectly honest with you, if you don't have those hands, then yeah, you've got a set of jacks and maybe you've got queens and kings. But when I take a look at the entire volume of hands that you might get here with at the end, I would think that ace jack would fall into the top 40% if you count all the suited jacks. And maybe like if you continue to call down with 9s, 10s, and 8s to the river, and then you start folding off 9s, 10s, and 8s. So it really comes back to the whole 4-bet sizing and the fact that you have a more volume of hands. With that being said, who the fuck knows if your opponent knows that? I'm just telling you the theory. Is that if you wanted from a theoretical perspective, this would probably be a call down because you have a larger volume of hands and you block aces. So I don't hate a call here at all. Is it that much of an exploit to fold? Yeah, I mean, it's a fair exploit. It's just, what are you calling with?
Exactly. And I thought about it for probably 2 minutes, and there's no draws on this board at all, really. So if I was beat, I was beat the whole way. And it just came down to that 4-bet size. It just didn't make any sense. And
well, sometimes 4-bet sizing is stronger though. Like, he might want to keep you in. I mean, that's kind of an exploit too. Like, I'll play like that in a little bit of an unbalanced way. It's usually with a little bit of shorter stacks, because I don't usually want to end up in a situation where I have to rip a pot and a half to get all the money in. So like, maybe if somebody was like 1,500 effective, you could get away with a very small four bet size. So, I mean, that in itself, but people are going to induce. What ended up happening?
I ended up calling, and he had king queen off for a bluff. Just
King
simply
queen
there.
off
Yeah,
bluff. Wow, that's pretty far out there. I mean, I guess
yeah,
he's trying to pick up. I mean, it's not like the limper cold called. Like I would expect that type of play if some idiot limped and you three bet and the limper called and there was dead money out there. I mean,
yeah.
king queen off should
I
just be a
think,
fold.
yeah, and that's that's it all came down like the four bet and then the turn. Like I figured if he was trying to get value from a big pair, he would have made a bigger sizing on the turn to try to set up a jam river. Um,
His sizing is a
and make
little
it.
bit non-standard on the turn, and usually like on a brick when somebody has like kind of a nut and a range advantage, it will
Mhm.
tend to be a little bit larger. So, I mean, maybe you took away from that he possibly wasn't that strong, or that maybe he would have set up a larger bet right at the end, to set up a larger value
Yeah.
bet at the end. Some people in the live chat are saying, could he have king jack? I don't think king jack ever takes this line.
No.
I think maybe aces and kings would, but again, I think the caller makes a good point that the turn sizing is a little bit wanky. Good call. I appreciate the call, Josh. Thanks for
Yep.
calling and